Hey guys, so I am 39 weeks pregnant, if you can't tell, and I just wanted to share this little yoga flow sequence that I've been doing to help maintain my strength and mobility. We'll start seated. I'm sitting up on a yoga block with my hips a little higher than my knees. It's just a little more comfortable. And with my hands on my knees, we'll just start tilting left ear to left shoulder, right ear to right shoulder, going back and forth, and eventually tucking chin to chest, coming back and forth in this semicircle motion. Take long, deep breaths, and we'll come back to neutral. Awesome. We're going to plant our left hand on the floor and bring our right hand overhead, get a nice little side stretch, and draw big circles in one direction, and reverse, go in the other direction. Take your time. Keep your hips planted on the floor or on the yoga block. And we'll do the same on the other side, planting your right arm on the floor, extending your left arm overhead, drawing circles in one direction, and taking your time, switching, go in the other direction. Taking long, deep breaths, keeping both sit bones planted to the yoga mat or your yoga block. Then we're going to do these coffee grinders, so leading with your heart, drawing big circles, and reverse. Think of your body as a coffee grinder, churning and keeping your chest lifted. Cool. So removing the yoga block, we're going to come to all fours. And I'm going to try to move my dog, but she does not want to move. Okay. We're going to do some hip circles going in one direction, getting really juicy with the hips and the spine. My knees are pretty wide apart to make room for the belly, and go in the opposite direction. Taking an inhale as I come forward and exhaling as I press back into a modified child's pose. Taking your time, bring the knees closer together, and we're going to kind of tilt the booty to one side, then the other, creating kind of a tick-tock motion. You should feel this in the outer hips. Then we'll tuck the toes, come up into our downward dog, pedal the feet out. If you've got a big pregnant belly like myself, you'll need a slightly wider stance to make room for the belly. And keep walking it out. Press into those shoulders, press into your fingertips. We'll lift our right foot up, three-legged dog, and plant that right leg on the outer edge of the right hand in kind of a extended lunge lizard. Plant your left knee and we'll tilt the hips back, going back and forth in a half split. You can use your yoga block for support. We'll just go back and forth from this lunge to the half split. Play with pointing and flexing the toes. See what feels good. If you don't need the block, feel free to move it and just keep going back and forth. Take your time. Take long, deep breaths. If you feel like you want to stay in one pose, go ahead and linger there. Great. Coming back to our downward dog, we'll do the same thing on the other side. Pedal the feet out. Lifting the left leg this time, three-legged dog. Plant that left foot on the outer edge of that left hand into kind of a lunge lizard pose, rocking back and forth. Plant your right knee on the ground. You can use your block for support to go back and forth from your lunge to your half split. You can play with pointing and flexing those left toes. See what feels good for you. Continue to take long, deep breaths, going back and forth from this half split to a lunge. You can remove the yoga block for a deeper stretch, and feel free to hang out in your lunge if it feels good. And then we will step that back foot up to the front of the mat, coming into our yogic squat. I'm going to turn around so that you can see me a little better. So I'm pressing my elbows into the inner edges of my thigh or my knee. Then I'm going to come into a forward fold, heel toe, the feet out into kind of a big sumo squat. And with your hands on your knees, tilt to one side, then the other to get a deeper stretch. Cool, we're going to lean over to the right side, keeping my right arm on the inner edge of the leg. Point and flex your left foot. Then we'll walk our hands over to the other side, point and flex your right foot. Keep your left arm glued to the inside of that left knee. Walk your hands over back to the right side, and we're going to pivot our hips so that they're square facing the front edge of the mat. Rock back and forth, plant your left knee, and we're going to sweep our right arm up and behind, getting a nice quad stretch, grabbing that left foot. Awesome. Release. And we're going to switch to the other side. Walk your hands over to the left. Pivot to the other side. So now your hips are square with the back edge of the mat. Rock back and forth. Plant your right knee on the ground. Reach your left arm behind you, grabbing your right foot, getting a nice quad stretch. Cool. Let's release and tilt forward again. We'll do the same thing again, so leaning over to the right side, squaring off the hips with the front edge of the mat, reaching up and back with the right arm to grab your left foot, and facing forward again, walk your hands over to the left, pivoting to the back edge of the mat, rocking back and forth, reach with your left arm to grab your right foot for that quad stretch. All right, now let's walk our way back to the front edge of the mat, and I'm going to come into a seat and come into a straddle or a pancake pose. Make sure you're sitting up on your sit bones with your knees turned out or facing the ceiling. We'll lean over to the right side, extend your left arm overhead for a nice side stretch, and over to the left side, extending your right arm overhead. Next, plant your hands in front of your hips. We're going to pulse, lifting the right foot for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the other side, lifting for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend the knees so that they're at 90-degree angles. We're going to rotate the knees to one side, getting a little internal and external rotation in the hips. Try to maintain that 90-degree angle with both the knees. Now we'll add a lift as we come to one side and then twisting to the other side, lifting the hips up and engaging the glutes. We'll go back and forth a few more times. Lift and squeeze. You should feel this in your inner thigh and coming up. Rotate again, lift, and twist over to the other side, lift. Awesome. Let's bring the soles of the feet together to go into our butterfly or diamond pose. But since we have a little bit of a belly, let's bring the feet out so they're not as tightly glued to the hips, and we'll lean forward and rock back and forth. Loosen up those hips a little. Get a nice stretch. Make sure you're breathing, and we will play with our seated happy baby. So with our right hand on the inner edge of the right foot, we'll bend and straighten. And let's try the other side. Left hand on the inner edge of that left foot, bend and straighten the leg. And let's just see if we can do both legs, just for shits and giggles. Yeah, okay, no, not happening. Not happening today. It's hard to balance with this huge ass belly. Okay, let's move on. We're going to come up into a tabletop pose. Bitch, get out the way. Move. Thank you. Okay, anyways, we are now in our tabletop pose on all fours. We'll take some time to do some juicy cat-cows, moving the spine a little. I personally prefer my drunk cat-cows, which is moving the head and the hips in a circular motion. And just take your time, breathe, get juicy with it, let your hips move, let your spine move, get really deep into the shoulders. And I like to play with kind of a dancier version of coming into my cobra pose. So kicking the feet up, I kind of feel like I get a slightly better stretch in my hip flexors. So pressing back into child's pose and kicking the feet up as I come forward into my cobra pose. It's just cute. I don't know. I like it. Take it or leave it. You don't have to do this. Anyways, we're going to come back into our child's pose and come back to meet me in a tabletop. We're going to come into our bird dog. So extend your left leg out, right arm forward. We're going to squeeze your right shoulder in a cactus arm and bring your left knee to the left side body. Squeeze for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Try not to lose any height in that leg. 7. And release. We'll try the other side. So extending your left arm and right leg, bringing your left arm to cactus, right leg kicks off to the side for 1, 2, 3, squeeze the glutes, 4, 5, 6, try not to lose height in the leg, 7, and we'll release back down to the floor. Awesome. Meet me back in tabletop. We're going to get ready for some push-ups. We're going to keep our knees planted on the ground and keep the elbows glued to the rib cage for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Press back into child's pose, sway side to side to get a little deeper in each shoulder. And let's just take a little breather here. We can come into our shark fin, so walk the elbows closer together. Hands come into a prayer pose, and you'll feel a slightly deeper stretch in the shoulders. All right, next we're going to come into our down dog. Pedal the feet out. Again, get a wider stance with the legs to make room for baby. Extend right leg into three-legged dog, and we're going to come into our pigeon. Feel free to give your baby some pets. We're going to bend our left leg, our back leg in, hook left arm around the foot, and get a nice stretch in the shoulders for our mermaid pose. And release. Take time to say hello to your loved ones. All right, back to downward dog. And pedal the feet out. This time we'll lift the left leg into three-legged dog. And then come into our pigeon. Keeping your hips square. Bending your back leg, this time your right leg. Hook your right arm around your foot. And coming into our mermaid pose. Take some deep breaths here before we release. And give your baby some kisses. We need all the oxytocin we can get. All right. Cool. All right, now we're going to sweep our legs in front of us and end in a little meditation. Coming into a seat. Again, you can grab your yoga block to elevate the hips. Take your time getting comfy and situated. We'll start by taking a deep inhale through the nose. And exhaling through the nose. Take another long, deep inhale. And an exhale, letting everything go. One more inhale through the nose. And exhale. Thanks for watching.